Soul, and this is my review of Raw that aired on the 21st of April. Right. A very sort of fast beginning here. Starts off with Daniel Bryan. We haven't seen him for a week because he got married. And you've got Brie Bella in the ring. Daniel Bryan comes out and you have a couple of seconds of a little happy reunion in the ring with the married couple. Then straight after this, Stephanie McMahon's music hits. And she totters on down in a very nice, tight dress. I'd pick Stephanie over Brie, but that's not what we're here to debate today. Steph comes out and is just saying, oh, what a lovely time you had. Your wedding was really nice. If you're into that kind of thing. So just being a really smarmy, stuck-up heel, basically backhanded compliments, sort of insulting the couple and just belittling them. Then all of a sudden, as they're talking, none. Kane's music hits, and Stephanie's on the mic saying, not now, Kane. Just stay back, just stay back. Daniel Bryan is protecting Brie, looking all around. They get out of the ring, backing up towards the announce table, still just backing away, looking, and then Kane just appears out of the timekeeper's booth. He must have been sitting in there with a hood on or something, or the crowd wouldn't notice him, but he is full-on Kane. Mask, good ring attire. Just how much these clothes make the man is ridiculous. Like, for the last couple of weeks, he's just been a joke. Just some balding corporate guy. And with the mask on and the attire on, he is back to being Kane the Monster. It just shows you how well this gimmick is and how well it does. But yeah, so Kane basically attacks Daniel Bryan and then locks eyes on Brie. Stephanie McMahon for this whole segment is just saying, Kane, stop. Not now. Stop this, Kane. As Kane starts stalking Brie Bella, Daniel Bryan comes back up, fights. At this point, leave the microphone alone. Stephanie is telling Brie to run, Brie, run! Yeah, and then Kane is just battering Bryan, throwing him into the ring, throwing him into steps. Just beating the living hell out of him. And it's strange because through this whole segment, Stephanie is just sounding like she's not being like a heel saying, oh stop. She's genuinely like, stop, don't do this, not now, this isn't the time to do this, which I find kind of strange for this segment. Well, she belated Kane last week, so she's definitely got the monster this week. Eventually the steel steps are cleared and Daniel Bryan gets tombstoned on the steel steps. At this point, Stephanie calls in the EMTs to come and look after Daniel Bryan. Kane walks off. They get in Daniel Bryan, collar on him, put him on a stretcher. And as they do that, Kane comes back, shoves him off, just beats on him a bit more, clears off the announce table. Literally gets a monitor and chucks it at a ref who just dodges at the last second. I think he's been taking lessons from Brock Lesnar on how to treat objects and clear tables. Yeah, and then clears the table, and I really wanted to know what was going to happen with this, with a tombstone through the announce table, because if it had collapsed and how they would have fallen. But the table was very solid, and he just tombstoned him on this table. But I don't know, it looked almost worse because the table just stood solid. A nice brutal. This is basically what they needed. Kane's been a joke for a couple of months, and now he's just a serious threat again. Also, I believe this ties into some personal issues, because I hear that Daniel Bryan's father died very recently. So this is also just a quick segment at the beginning, then he can go off and deal with what he has to do. And as always in these hard situations, the WWE Universe will send their condolences to Daniel Bryan and his family. But yeah, this is a good segment, reintroduce Kane. And the strangest ending is Stephanie McMahon saying, Kane, you bastard. Just like proper like swore at him, as in like, you were not meant to do any of this. This was too much. So I'm quite interested to see what Stephanie has to say about Kane in like the coming show. And she literally said at the beginning of this it's going to be a title match on a pay-per-view. Which is sort of the only thing they do. So it's Stephanie and Kane versus Daniel Bryan, though Kane seems just to be uncontrollable. And I assume their match is going to have to be some sort of last man standing hardcore match. Which again, these two have worked really well together, so I hope on the pay-per-view it'll come off really, really well. After this, we get some bad news. And Barrett comes out and says, I've got some bad news for Daniel Bryan. Or, I've got worse news than Daniel Bryan just had by being getting beaten up by Kane. Yeah, this is it. Barrett is over. He's a good heel / likeable heel. And him and Sheamus just have one hell of a match. And Sheamus is getting cheered like he's been on the receiving end of boos because he's probably the next one down from Cena, who the fans have kind of rebelled against because he's being forced on us a lot. But Sheamus and Barrett just have this damn good back and forth, big out brawl. And oh my god, Sheamus does a crossbody from the top rope, leaps onto Barrett, crossbody hits him, takes him down. That's a big spot for a big man to do, leaping off the top rope to the outside. And Barrett caught him, all went perfect. As I say, just really good. But poor Big E seems to still be standing there. I wonder if he's been standing there since last week. This man, that seems to be the only thing he does, is just stand there watching other people in the title. Though I don't think they showed him standing there during the match later on tonight, the Cesaro RVD. So maybe that's all they had time to film. Yeah. Another white noise is hooked in on Barrett. And then Sheamus, just before he delivers it, just sounds like he goes, moo! And then hits the white noise. Bit weird. Barrett kicks out. It's good back and forth, a few false finishes at the end, but Barrett bails to the outside, Sheamus chases him, bullhammer elbow for the pin. Nice clean win over Sheamus, which is a rarity for most guys. Glad to see Barrett getting this push, and I'll be excited to see, I really want to see Big E versus Barrett. I think that's where the best match you can get in this. Either Cesaro versus Big E or Barrett versus Big E, they're both going to be good matches. Yeah, and after this we get a little vignette of Hugh Jackman, because a couple of years ago when we had the guest hosts of Raw, he coached Zack Ryder into a win over Dolph Ziggler, and they replay that and say that next week Hugh Jackman's going to be back, and they play up the fact that Dolph and Hugh had a bit of a back and forth on Twitter. So I don't know if that's going to be like Hugh Jackman and Dolph Ziggler teaming up, or Hugh Jackman in his corner against someone else, but as long as we get Dolph Ziggler on the show, because unfortunately he is absent from this show, which is a damn travesty. They also tell us that the voting for tonight will be Cena, either against Luke from the Wyatt family, or against Luke and Rowan of the Wyatt families, or against Luke, Rowan and Bray of the Wyatts. Kind of an odd poll, but they actually play up in it. It's done a bit too many times in the show. They keep popping this thing up there. I prefer it when it's just done and then they make the vote happen. But it plays into the story of the night, which is Bray is getting control over the crowd and taking them away from Cena. So, of course, they're going to vote for the triple threat. Because he's got the whole world in his hands. Straight after this, we do get a Bray promo. And he's just sounding more and more like a religious cult leader. He's getting the people to turn their backs on John Cena. And they're going to vote against him. Because they're all part of his family. And basically he's just taking control of the fans, taking them all away from Cena. And that's what it's about. It's about stripping everything away from Cena and exposing him for the monster he is. We get a 6-man tag after this, a very quick one. It plays off a little rivalry they've started between Hornswoggle and El Torito. So it's 3MB with Heath Slater on the outside versus El Matadors. And they start off in the ring, and then the little guys want in. El Torito and Hornswoggle want in. They get their tags, and they do a little quick bit. They actually had a really, really good match on SmackDown. I suggest you go and look at it. And they just have a quick back and forth here. El Torito hits his top rope moonsault, gets broken up. Yeah, and then it just turns into a bit of a comedy match, because everything the El Torito and Hornswoggle does seems to just hit big wrestlers in the testicles, causing them to fall down. This eventually gets Drew McIntyre to be laying on the floor, and then the El Matadors pick him up into their double Samoan drop with El Torito leaping off the top, doing a senton. All three of them hit a move on Drew and pin him by. El Torito gets the actual pinfall directly over him, so... oh, why? Drew is such a good wrestler. Do something with him. Oh no, fine comedy little match. Helps carry on the evening. And then after this, we get a limo pull up. And then we get Evolution. Walk out of the limo. Because tonight we're going to see what Evolution is made of. Evolution is a mystery, full of changes never seen. And Evolution are in the ring. And Triple H starts off the promo, and he's got a really bad throat. I'm assuming he's got a cold or something, but he doesn't sound good. So he starts it off, then hands it over to Orton, hands it over to Batista. We get a old school Evolution promo, just showing them from back in the day, beating down foes, minus Ric Flair. It's quite funny, Ric Flair is like nowhere to be seen in these video packages. And then it just finishes with a nice then and now shot, like fades in with Triple H with long hair into Triple H now, Batista with hair, Batista now, Randy Orton with hair, and then no hair now. So the big change seems to be a haircut. But yeah, and they're just mouthing off, saying they're the most dominant force. Then we hear the Shield's music hit. The Shield storm down through the crowd, and as soon as they're in the ring, Evolution have bailed and walked up the ramp. All three members of the Shield get to cut a promo. Dean Ambrose starts it off, and I just love his Joker-esque, just wildness he comes across. And just like he's ready to just explode at any moment. But yeah, it's a good promo. Then Seth is the straight man, just talking at how it is. Say that they've never ever fought anyone like the Shield. They're going to see how tough they are. And then Roman Reigns just finishes with a bullet point. Just like, you got two choices. You can either try and fight like a man, or you can run like a coward. And they just drop the mic, walk up to them, and like Triple H is like, well, there's always option C. Or option 3, one or the other. And then all the guys they got to have in the 11-on-3 match last week come out behind them. And the Shield are sort of stopped in their tracks. Evolution just laugh. They're just like, come on then, come on. And then they just back off, and the segment's just left with the Shield sort of not being stupid enough to attack 14 men on 14 men versus 3 is never good odds, no matter how good you are. They're smart enough not to face them, so then the segment just sort of fades out with them sort of being restrained. So Evolution have got the intellectual advantage in this night. Yeah, after this they show that Ryback and Curtis Axel are on commentary, and we get a match between the Usos and the Rhodes brothers. Really weird commentary here. We've got Ryback and Curtis Axel, or Rybaxel, on commentary, and Ryback is just sounding like a normal person. He's not really in character, he's not really being heel. He's just sort of like, yeah, both of these teams are strong competitors, look forward to facing either of them, and he just seems to be having a bit of banter back and forth, which is odd. He sounds very sort of just very neutral. But the match itself, it was good. The Rhodes brothers are an amazing tag team, and the Usos, well, they're the champs, and they deserve to be the champions. I actually really wish these two teams could just have a rivalry back and forth. It's a short match, but they got some good spots. But the Usos eventually get the victory. There's a nice sort of couple of false finishes, but a super kick connects and we finally get a pinfall. And a little bit of tension between the roads. Goldust is sort of comforting Cody, and Cody just shakes him off and then storms off. Goldust follows him, and that's when Rybaxel attacks the Usos, getting the advantage. Ryback hits the shell shock, and then they just walk out. So this is the match we're going to get at the pay-per-view, is Rybaxel versus the Usos. I really hope the Usos come out on top. I just don't want Rybaxel to have the titles. They're just not good enough as a team. And we really need to get some more, like, heel teams that would be useful. These are the only heel teams apart from 3MB, and they're busy in a comedy feud. We get a little promo next for Slam City, which is showing Mark Henry fighting some robotic penguins in what must be some sort of arcade. I'm going to have to try and check these out on YouTube. Apparently they're just YouTube little cartoon shorts advertising a toy line. So, bit of free content, never goes bad. Then we get Emma versus Layla in a singles match with Fandango and Santino on the outside. From the very get-go, Fandango yanks Santino's leg and he hits his face on the apron. Layla attacks Emma from behind. A bit of back and forth. Eventually Fandango gets his comeuppance as Santino and the Cobra revive and take him out outside the ring. Well, back in the ring, Emma gets her own Cobra. She plays around with a boot for a while and pulls out a pink sparkly Cobra. Hits it on Layla, gets the pin, and Santino and Emma are celebrating. And then the Cobras start mating. They intertwine and have trouble pulling them apart, but they keep coming back together. I know it's stupid, but I enjoy it. It's just a bit of fun, a bit of comedy. It can be a bit overdone at times, but these two I enjoy. The thing about wrestling is it's a circus. You have different acts that appeal to different people, and just it's some nice fun comedy, especially after some serious angles. And speaking of serious, we get Cesaro and his really weird new music that I do not like. It's just sort of like a siren goes off. So I thought maybe Big Papa Pump was going to come out, but no. It just goes on for a bit too long and then just goes into really, really generic face music. Well, just general rock music that is just awful. There's nothing to it, no personality to this music. Get rid of it, get something different. Heyman does his usual promo of, "My client Brock Lesnar defeated the Streak." They're in the ring and it looks like he's about to start the meat of his promo, and it fades to black and commercials. I assume this must have happened in America as well, because we sort of get it live, and I think our adverts sync up with theirs. And then as we come back, yeah, it looks like Heyman's just finished his promo, and just like saying the last bit of "My client Brock Lesnar has defeated the Streak," unless he literally said that for the whole couple of minutes of the adverts. No idea. If anyone else knows, let me know in the comments section below. Let me know if there was more to this promo than what we saw on TV. And then Rob Van Dam. This is, of course, a qualifying match for the Intercontinental title tournament. And I was expecting better than I got in this match. Like, especially the beginning of this match was really, really sloppy. There was a few blown spots. Cesaro always managed to then come out on top and carry on. There wasn't much stumbling for long, but it was still noticeable if you know what you're looking for. Then they got into their stride and it was sort of good back and forth. I thought they would have played on Paul Heyman being Rob Van Dam being a Paul Heyman guy more than they did. But it was back and forth. Then all of a sudden we get the Real Americans music hit, and Jack Swagger and Zep Calder come down. Heyman just starts arguing with Zep. Cesaro was about to swing RVD, drops him, comes outside the ring, starts arguing. Swagger tries getting him, ducks, RVD attacks him. But as he dives off the rope, Cesaro hits a European uppercut, getting control of RVD. Throws him back in the ring, the ref's distracted at this point, and Swagger drives Cesaro into the turnbuckle. and Cesaro was unable to make the 10 count and get back into the ring. So disappointed. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know. After this match, I'm not really excited to see RVD in another match. But this does give me hope that Barrett will be our new Intercontinental Champion. RVD really does not need an Intercontinental title run. And Big E versus RVD doesn't really make sense. Barrett versus Big E seems much better. So that gives me hope in that regard. As for Cesaro, of course we're going to get a little manager and managee match against each other. They advertised it actually for SmackDown. So we'll have to see what it goes then and see if it comes into a full-blown rivalry or if it's just a little interlude, something for Cesaro to win over as he's getting into his singles career. And backstage, we get a little interview with Rob Van Dam. He looks quite haggard and tired in this interview, I won't lie. Then Cesaro and Heyman come out, and it's like, you can't beat me one-on-one, you know better. RVD tells Cesaro to leave Heyman. I was going to hope that this is going to lead to like a singles match and then there's a bit of story there, but didn't really seem to amount to anything. But after this we get beautiful Paige versus Oksana again. Can't remember, it was actually the last episode of SmackDown we had this match. But Oksana's gotten better. After her days of just being dangerous, she is sort of getting more and more better, and I prefer this match. Like, Paige isn't just coming off as an underdog. She's got control in the beginning, Oksana gets back in control, Paige comes back for the win. The lovely, beautiful submission. Not much else to say about the match, they're just building Paige up. I'm surprised they've not got her and Tamina having any face-to-face. This is literally just they're building up Paige. No sign of Tamina, we know she's a strong diva, so hopefully she'll be a big opponent for Paige to overcome and cement herself as Women's Champion. And then we get the Ravishing Russian. Can't even remember her name, but she's just damn fetish is what she is. The highest heels possible, they must almost be snapping her toes. She looks hot, sounds a bit annoying, but calls out Alexander Ruther's. And it's a squash match, Sin Cara versus Alexander, though it is a bit back and forth. Like, Sin Cara's not just completely murdered like Xavier Woods was. Sin Cara gets in some good shots. That shows Ruthez is willing to work with smaller guys and can actually sell as well. Again, it just shows off his power. He's got some good power moves to him. And then the I don't give a damn camel clutch just looks good on him. Again, Oksana giving the crash. No, not Oksana. Whatever her name is. Crash. And then the finisher is slapped on and the match is over. And then we are all ready to our main event of the evening. John Cena versus all of the Wyatt family. That is what the WWE Universe voted for. Was Cena versus the man who's got the whole world in his hands. Good atmosphere going into this match. Bray, like, they had a little interview with Cena earlier showing that he was scared and he knows that the more and more they fight, the more and more people join Bray Wyatt's side. And yeah, it's a handicap match, tagging in and out. Cena keeps firing up. Back and forth, but it just shows the Wyatts working together, winning. But I do not like the ending of this match, because Cena hits the 5 moves of doom, hits the 5-knuckle shuffle, gets him up for the AA, and looks like he's about to hit it and pin him. Looks like he's about to beat Bray in a handicap match. So how has this warranted a cage match? Cena beat Bray Wyatt with his 2 men at the ringside at WrestleMania. He literally beat Bray Wyatt in a handicap match on Raw, even though seconds after both the Wyatts come in and it gets knocked out for a DQ. But it looks exactly like Cena was going to win. So why are the stakes so high that a cage match that keeps out the only things that seem to make a difference and Cena can still overcome them, how does this warrant a cage match? It doesn't make much sense to me. But please, please, to make Bray look strong, he has got to beat Cena on his own in that steel cage. This is getting to the point, it's like, fine, he can absorb a loss at Mania, but he can't keep being made to look stupid. He is a new character. He needs to look strong for him to make sense in the future. Regardless of that, I didn't like the finish of the match, but after the match with the beatdown, and then Bray sitting there, caressing John Cena's head, and just singing literally he's got the whole world in his hands, which I believe leads into the backstage pass. That's just some creepy image right there, like especially when his hands is just like stroking his face, just rubbing up and down. Oh, I love Bray. He just has this creepy persona to him. Just WWE, do him justice, give him the win. Right, we've still got a couple of weeks until Extreme Rules, so a lot can happen in that time. So, until next time, let me know if your opinions are the same as mine, if you think there are going to be different matches, and who you think should win the matches, and who you think will win the matches, because they can be very different things. Until Friday, TTFN.